A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to our viewers and the participants for joining us in the today's live legal talk show under the overarching theme of doing business in real estate across India and UAE, corporate tax structure, incentives, and the regulatory challenges. I am Aeshwarya Sisodia, Senior Associate at Hammurabi and Sullivan Partners, New Delhi, and it is my privilege to moderate this insightful discussion on the real estate sector of both India and UAE. Today's session features an esteemed panel of legal experts who bring a wealth of knowledge on the real estate sector in their respective jurisdiction and will give us insight on the development of the real estate sector, ways of making investment, and also the legal, regulatory, and taxation consideration that one should be aware about. Let me introduce our distinguished panelists for today's session. We have Ms. Raka Roy, partner at Galadari Advocates and legal consultant, Mr. Shantanu Malik and Ms. Thanuja Palla, both partners at Hammurabi and Sullivan Partners, and Mr. Amir Zafar Khan and Mr. Faizan Daud, both senior associate at Galadari Advocates and legal consultant. Now, before we jump onto our topic today, allow me to give you a brief overview of the introduction of the firm. Our firm, Hammurabi and Sullivan Partners, is a leading full-service law firm established in the year 2001. We are currently in the 25th year of operation, and over the years, our firm have built a reputation for providing a comprehensive legal service across wide spectrum of practice areas. We are among the top 15 law firms in India, and we hold expertise in the corporate advisory, merger and acquisition, data protection, compliances, litigation, arbitration, insolvency and bankruptcy, public policy, and our today's topic, the real estate. We take pride in our team of over 100 professionals, including 18 plus experienced partners who bring a diverse legal expertise to the table. Our team operates across multiple regions in India, including Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Jharkhand, Ahmedabad, Chennai, and Hyderabad, offering tailored solutions to meet the unique needs of our client with a commitment to excellence and focus on the client's success. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to invite Ms. Raka Roy to introduce their firm, Galadari Advocates and Legal Consultant, to our audience. Ms. Roy, over to you.
Thank you, Aeshwarya, and very warm welcome to everyone. And thanks to Hammurabi for organizing this and for including and collaborating with us. I am Raka Roy, partner with Galadari Advocates and Legal Consultants. Galadari is a regional law firm in the UAE based for almost the last 40 years in the country. It started typically as a litigation law firm because it is owned by right to audience Emirati lawyers. But then it went on to obviously expand its horizon to today when, as we speak, we are a full service regional law firm with the best blend of litigation, of course, being one of our strongest, capacity levels. But at the same time, we are full service in corporate, commercial, intellectual property. When it comes to arbitration and dispute resolution, we do have a very well capacitated team. Real estate is definitely one of the backbones of UAE's economy. So the team in the firm, specifically when it comes to real estate, is quite beefed up. So we do, starting from advisory, regulatory, as well as a lot of real estate dispute resolution, be it an arbitration or a local mainland litigation work together. So yeah, I mean, I would say that is basically what the firm does. Accepting a tax advice on a very financial level, it is everything that we do. I find that to be a more easier description for Galadari. So that is basically what we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roy, for providing a brief overview of your firm to our viewers. Now, before we move ahead, let me allow me to take you through today's topic for this webinar, the real estate sector. The real estate sector and the infrastructure of any country is a mirror of its economic and the political stability, prosperity and opulence of its people, and overall positive and connivable atmosphere of any country. It is a sector which does not grow in isolation, and it is hitched with the development and the growth of other sector of the country as well. For example, if there is a boom in tourism in any part of the country, it will automatically lead to the opening up of more hotels and restaurants. Revolution in IT sector will create demand for more commercial and office spaces. Development of expressways and highways will improve the growth and development of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Even things like winning a World Cup or winning an Olympic medal in any sports will create demand for more stadiums and sports complexes. When we talk about UAE, United Arab Emirates, is a high income developing market economy having a GDP of more than 500 billion USD. With its economy mostly relied upon oil and petroleum for a very long time, it has made an effort toward the economic diversification. Although most of the Emiratis have remained conservative about the economic diversification, but Dubai, which has far less oil reserve than its counterpart, have seen a significant economic diversification toward non-oil source of revenues in the UAE. Over the years, with the rise of tourism sector and the service sector in the UAE, UAE is now the most diverse economy among the member of Gulf Cooperation Council. In order to ensure the continuous growth and to leverage maximum from the high class tourism and the service sector, there has been an eye popping development in the real estate landscape. The real estate landscape in UAE is so astonishing that it has become a global benchmark when it comes to the real estate project being developed around the world. Be it the iconic Burj Khalifa, Falcon City of Wonders, Dubai Hills, Dubai Sports City, Dubai International Financial Center, Abu Dhabi Global Market, and most recently Yas Island. All these have become hub for the real estate and have made UAE one of the most attractive investment destination. Now, coming to India, before I dive into the real estate sector in India, let me just give you a brief insight into the landscape of India. India is the seventh largest country in the world, having a total area of 3.3 million square kilometer. Coastline is 7,516 kilometer. Aerial distance from north to south is 3,214 kilometer, and from east to west it is 2,933 kilometers. It comprises of 28 states and 8 union territories. Just to give you a fact that India is one of the very few countries around the world which encompasses nearly every type of landscape on earth. Be it the snow-capped mountain of Himalayas, deserts of Rajasthan, lush green rainforests of Western Ghat, coastal belt of southern India, deltas of Sundarban, or the cluster of island of Andaman and Nicobar. And just beyond all these numbers, just to give you a perspective as to how big our country actually is and how much untapped potential we have in the real estate sector, let me just show you this map. If you see this particular map, you can see that every state uh, in India is of the size of one or another country of European Union. So Jammu Kashmir is of the size of Romania. Maharashtra is of the size of Italy. Then we have our very own United Kingdom in Uttar Pradesh, and so on and so forth. Uh, when we now going ahead in India, in the initial years, real estate was not our focal point. But post the liberalization of economy, there has been focus on the development of the commercial and the industrial space. Further, the rise of service sector and their contribution to the GDP have resulted in the development of the real estate of some of the major cities. However, considering the land bank available with us and the diversity in landscape we possess, we are yet to make the full utilization of our capabilities in the real estate sector. When we look at the historical ties between India and UAE in the realm of the real estate, it can be traced back to several decades ago. Both the countries have seen a significant exchange of investment and collaboration, resulting in the strong foundation of their current partnership. One key aspect that has fostered this relationship is the Indian diaspora living in the UAE, uh, who have actively explored the investment opportunities in the key cities of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Similarly, some of the very well known UAE-based developers like MR Properties are collaborating with the Indian developers for their real estate project in India. The collaboration between India and UAE in the real estate sector holds numerous benefits for both the countries. For UAE, investing in Indian real estate offers a diversification opportunity from their traditional way of investment. On the other hand, India stand to gain from this collaboration through increase in foreign direct investment inflow into the real estate sector. The aim of this webinar is to examine the development in the real estate sector, new and old ways of investment opportunity, regulatory tax and legal consideration in the real estate sector in both India and UAE. Further, with the coming up of international financial centers in India and UAE, and also the concept of real estate tokenization is under discussion and debate as a new and a democratized way of investment in real estate. Our esteemed panelists will share their in-depth understanding on the topic and will enhance the knowledge of a viewer. So, without taking any more time, let's dive into the conversation to discuss today's topic. First of all, I would like to call upon Mr. Amir Zafar Khan to share with us What are the recent development in the real estate sector in UAE, and how can a non-resident invest in real estate sector in UAE? Mr. Khan, over to you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Aeshwarya, for inviting us to this forum to share our knowledge regarding this part of the world. So at this point in time, it's an exciting time to invest in the real estate sector in the UAE in general and in Dubai particularly. But to give you a bit of an aspect of about it, in January, about 7,000 new apartments are going to be in the market for sale, and that is not including any townhouses and villas. So the market is very robust, and it has been very sustainable. The prices are stable, and the laws keep on updating themselves, and the government over here is very keen to ensure that foreign direct investment in the real estate sector over here especially is safeguarded, and to that effect there are certain laws that have been changed or other laws that have been enforced, such as, for example, if somebody buys a property over here, when they sign the sale purchase agreement. The sale purchase agreement is then registered with the Okud authority, which is basically a department of the government, which basically ensures that once you register the Okud, the rights of the person who is buying the property are safeguarded vis-a-vis the developer. Because often you may have seen that this was a recurring problem in the late 2000s, where a lot of developers went out of business, and they sort of absconded with a lot of investors' money. So the government has introduced these laws so that the investors are protected. Now, other than that, even in relation to construction in the real estate sectors, recently the government in Dubai especially came out with the law number 7 of 2025, which basically has amalgamated all the laws of the construction sector into one law. It is now a uniform code, which basically ensures that all the contractors, all the subcontractors, everybody is now registered with the government so that they provide a good sort of an experience to investors, and basically give you value for money. And if you look outside Dubai, if you move towards Ras Al Khaimah, for example, now that is an up and coming emirate, which will be the first one in the region to actually have a casino over here. So that is expected to basically attract a lot of foreign direct investment in terms of the businesses, in terms of real estate. In fact, I believe over the past 4 years, the real estate sector in Ras Al Khaimah has increased exponentially. So that is another sector that investors may look into. Now, quickly, I'll also touch upon the fact how non-resident Indians, for example, can invest in the real estate sector over here. So either they can purchase a property themselves in their own names, they can purchase a property through a corporate structure, i.e., through a company, or more recently, what we actually encourage people to do is to set up a foundation in the DIFC. Now, this, from a family wealth structuring point of view, is a very novel and unique sort of a structure where a foundation in the DIFC is a hybrid between a company and a foundation and a trust. So basically, you buy the property through your foundation, and you can be the founder. You can also be the beneficiary of that foundation as well. So in case in the event you do pass away, your underlying assets are not affected by it. So, just to quickly wrap it up on this part of your question, this is a great time to invest, and I believe uh, a lot of inquiries are coming in for investments in real estate sector.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, for enlightening us on the ways of making investment in UAE. This has reminded me of a quote from Mr. Will Rogers, a very famous Hollywood actor in the 1930s. He once said, "Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and then wait." This saying is very much true when it comes to UAE, and certainly true for India as well, considering how much potential we have and how much still there is to be explored. So my next question is to Mr. Malik, Mr. Shantu Malik. Can you please enlighten us with respect to the recent development in the real estate sector in India, and also what all are the best possible options for the non-resident to make investment in the real estate sector in India? Mr. Malik.
Yeah. Thank you, Aeshwarya. Thank you for the insight and thank you for the introduction. And before I start replying to your question, which you have asked with respect to the real estate development in India, I just want to share the few figures and data in order to, represent that how big the real estate market is in India. So real estate is the second, I'll say the second highest employment generator after agriculture in India. And it's contribute almost around 13% to our GDP. And presently it's by 2030, it will be a market of 1 trillion USD. And it has a bandwidth of go up to 5 to 7 trillions. So this is what we are talking about the Indian market at the real estate side. And in order to respond to your specific query with respect to recent development, I just highlight few examples here. The first one is National Smart City Mission, by which the government has develop 100 cities across the country, making them citizen friendly and self-sustainable model. So their focus is mainly on with respect to their housing, health, education, waste management, and water management, and use of renewable energy more. Then second is Urban Infrastructure Development Fund 2023, where the focus is on tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where the population is between, above 50,000 and goes up to 10 lakhs. And in order to create more, regional economic hubs. Then the third one is with respect to Bharatmala Pariyojana for national highways and expressways. This started somewhere into 2017 per se, and this is like almost 60% is almost complete, and we are expected to cover almost 38,000 kilometers by 2027 and 2028. It's expected to be completing that much. And if we talk about Indian metro projects, and we are already operational in 21 cities, and we are expecting to expand more up to 1,000 kilometers in addition to this in the coming years. Now, if we talk about the business specific cities, then we have Gujarat Gift City, we have High Tech City at Hyderabad. Gift City, I just want to highlight some few, importance of Gift City at Gujarat. It acts like a SEZ, and where you get more on tax benefit as well as, with respect to regulatory benefits. And High Tech City, this Hyderabad Information Technology City, this is more on the IT and engineering side. And then we have upcoming Kochi Smart City, which is focusing more on the IT sectors. So this is what the present recent developments in place. And when we talk about and the second query yours is with respect to investment options for investment options with respect to non-resident Indians. So with respect to that, this 100% FDI is allowed when it comes to the construction sectors, with certain limitations with respect to limitation of time period, which is 3 years. Then there is a limitation with respect to capitalization. It's earlier it was cap of 10 million, but now it has been divided into two parts. 5 million in the first 6 months, and the remaining can be in another 10 years. And then there is a limitation with respect to specific area which need to be developed. It has to be, if I'm not wrong, it's 50,000 square meters area requirement is there. And other than this, the projects where you can invest is, it has to be compliance of all the applicable laws, and it has to be the building plans and everything be in order. Only on those projects one can invest. The second, one can invest not in the completed projects, but they can invest in their operation and management. Then third, as we all know that in India, the foreigners cannot have property in their own names. But yes, for definitely they can invest through real estate investment trust, by where one can buy units, and by this, without having to buy or manage or finance the properties themselves, they can invest in the units and they can get good returns out of it. Then there is a real estate operating companies as well, REOC. There it's work on the similar model as the REITs is. However, the compliances and scrutiny is lesser as compared to REITs. And the newer concept, which is still in the discussion, and the framework is legal framework is not yet been developed, but there is a tokenization is in the talks, and it will be available soon in the market as well. And so these are the options for an investor who want to invest in India. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Malik, for enlightening us, our viewers, on the development in the real estate sector and the investment opportunities in India. I noticed that you have touched upon the real estate tokenization as well. It seems to be a new phenomena when it comes to the investment in the real estate with the usage of blockchain technology. And there are many players rising in USA and UAE, like Block Square, BitGo, Codify, etc. in this domain. So my next question is to Ms. Raka Roy. Since Dubai is moving towards the tokenization of properties, can you please highlight on the initiative taken by the Dubai Land Department, and how do you see the development of the tokenization in the near future? Ms. Roy, over to you.
Sure. So I would, give you a short idea about what is happening. Definitely, Dubai, I would say, is UAE is one of the market leaders in terms of having taken this initiative and have almost got a constructive structure in place. So before anything further, I would just quickly try to share my screen with. Is this visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Okay, so in terms of generally tokenization of real estate, just to set the base, obviously it is something which converts property ownership into blockchain-based digital tokens. It does give us the option of enabling fractional ownership and digital trading. It is completely done by smart contracts and is automated transaction, and usually done with the help of a special purpose vehicle. Now, when we talk about special purpose vehicle, I would just kind of expand a little more to say that these are obviously, I'm sure this also happens in India, that these are distinct entities mainly designed to hold and manage specific assets. And these are also the case when it comes to tokenization of real estates. Now, the vehicles obviously isolate financial risks and enables the issuance of digital tokens that represent fractional shares in the interest. Now, investors can definitely purchase these tokens in the SPVs and provide them with the exposure to the underlying real estate, right? So this is basically the structure which usually works. Moving on, just a little, idea about globally what is happening. So Switzerland also have a platform, similar platform called Blackimo. And in USA, there is Aspen Center, which is resort token, which has been tokenized. Next in command, obviously, Dubai is aiming to lead this clearly with a regulatory framework in place, because one thing that definitely I would say that we see in the digital economy so far as UAE is concerned is that they're very conscious to have had a regulatory framework, whether it is a fintech or it is, a digitized, tokenized real estate industry to have in place, just so that the investors and the developers are both legally more bound. Yeah, so This was launched by the Dubai Land Department in the early of this year, January. So yes, still early stages, but I'm quite proud to say that the country has kind of already have its authorities and its laws in place. It is still having its initial few projects being taken off. So few questions still remain unanswered, but we are hopeful that, that will get kind of more clearer as and when we progress with this. So this has been a part of the real estate evolution space for the UAE. And yes, it's the first in the Middle East to tokenize property title deeds. Who are the collaborators, or the authorities who are basically the stakeholders who are involved in this ecosystem? So of course, it is the Dubai Land Department, Dubai Future Foundation, DFF, VARA, which is basically the virtual asset regulating authority, which is basically the guardian for all kind of blockchain and crypto related assets in the country. And of course, the CBUE, Central Bank of UAE. Securities and Commodities Authority, SCA, is more of an authority who kind of regulates anything related to investments and commodities in the country. Typically, I would definitely refer my notes, not to go, So in the UAE, the tokenized real estate definitely needs to comply with the local regulations, which is overseen by the DLD, which is the Dubai Land Department, and the SCA, which is Securities and Commodities Authority. These authorities ensure that the tokenized real estate assets meet the necessary legal criteria. So they are more or less like more of a guardian who would definitely make sure that this is happening in place. And few of the legal criteria obviously includes KYC, the anti-money laundering regulations, which would quite squarely safeguard the need of the investors. It is open to developers, tech firms, property managers, and investors. It is still testing the real estate digitization in tradable tokens. As I said, given that we've just kind of come up with this. Of course, unlocking new possibilities, given that fractional ownership is democratizing on the access of a property, which is a unique concept, but yes, very welcoming, at least as of now we can see, because it is kind of reaching to all kind of investors, and buying a property or being at least taking the benefits of a property increment or a property investment in UAE no longer will be just meant for a certain class of income holders. It's giving you liquidity faster with better exit plans. Global investors can access via digital platforms, and the transaction costs are lower. So of course, the transparency is way more improved there. These are basically the things which typically in an actual sales scenario would be there. And that is how the government is trying to kind of work around, just so that, one can kind of take care of these, and investors get more and more incentives to come and, invest in this kind of a transaction. It's smart contracts and automation. So there is real-time record keeping that is happening here, automated compliance and income distribution. And there is way more reduced legal and administrative overheads. Very quickly, in terms of, just to give you a sort of an idea that what are the, So what are these smart contract clauses, which both the investors and the developers need to be a little mindful of? Now, in terms of the developers, definitely the asset description clause, the token issuance, the SPV structure, what we just discussed about, is so important to be understanding that exactly what is the SPV structure which is signing this up, the regulatory compliance clause. And from the investor side, it is ownership rights, income distribution, exit, and liquidity. I think that's something we would see irrespective for any particular contract that we are looking into. Dispute resolution. And then for the platform owners, KYC, AML, smart contract clauses, which needs to be kind of guarded with an audit clause, and data privacy, because there definitely will be a lot of personal data which would go into this kind of a contract. So how does it work? Well, from the investor side, if we go left to right, it is basically the investor putting in the its investment into the tokenization platform, and then obviously the tokens getting issued. The ownership flow is that way. Now, in terms of real estate tokenization in the UAE, these are typically the way how it would work. Means basically the skeletal structure. It is identification of the property and its feasibility, the legal structuring and the compliance, asset tokenization, smart contract deployment, regulatory approvals 100% required, and then obviously the sale and the distribution of the token and secondary market trading. Few names which has been there in the market now. The MAC, one of the leading property developers, they already are in the market and have tokenized up to $1 billion. MAC Group, 500 million. Crypto is a tokenized. Amir, I think it's a tokenized platform, or is it also a property holder?
No, it's a property holder. Their partner is Control Alt, which is the actual platform.
Correct. Great. So thanks, Amir. So yes, so that is what crypto is. So few of these names are already up and running. As you can see, VARA, which is basically our regulating authority, they are definitely first and foremost entertaining bigger developers, preferably someone who is registered with the Dubai Legal Affairs Department and the consortium. This is not really on the level of any discrimination, but it is more about a practical step that the authorities are taking to say that, well, we want this to really fly and we want this entire concept to take off in the most constructive way. And as a regulator, they're definitely seeing this to happen well with the bigger developers. So that is basically how they are trying to look at it. The requirements are open to everyone. There's no absolute constraint in anybody putting an application to try to do this. But yes, this we just wanted to bring to you as a practical insight, just so that we would know. Dispute resolution in tokenized property. Well, again, it's a matter of time. We would not know. We are still early days into this. But what we can see, obviously, the first thing is if there is a dispute, it needs to be raised with the virtual asset regulatory authority first. If it is an SPV, which is being managed by either the ADGM or DIFC, ADGM and DIFC are the two of the free zones that we have over here, financial free zones. Then in that case, it has to be first with a dispute resolution route. Then, of course, if it is an ADGM, it is FSRA, and it is DFSA when it is DIFC. These are the authorities that one can resort to. And finally, it can be then taken on to the courts. The ADGM and DIFC both have their own independent courts running. So that is where, given that if it is an SPV which is being developed under any of these jurisdictions. So yeah. How do we do the dispute option? This is something I must admit I have taken from other jurisdictions. We have still not seen how UAE would be doing it from a very generalized perspective. Of course, review of the contract issuer or the platform, contact the issuer of the platform, submit a formal complaint, obviously escalate it to the financial ombudsman, and then legal action or an ADR. So more or less something which we've seen in UK or in some other countries that has, kind of taken these steps. But yes, a matter of time for us to see how would this happen here. Just to tell you that other token holders are not legally implicated in an individual dispute. So the interest is only in relation to your token. And typically, there is a dual sale term which could be done if it is somewhere where there is an SPV or a token redemption that can be possible. So if there is a token redemption or the SPV or token redemption possibility that is there, then you can enable the whole property for sale. So given that currently we are talking only about a fractional ownership, and a traditional sale would always involve a full ownership of the entire contract, the question comes to us that then what happens? Is it that then the property which is up for a fractional sale cannot be converted into a full sale? And the answer to that is that you should have the option of a dual sale term well defined into your contracts and the smart agreements, just so that then that is something one can explore into. And lastly, just to finish off, that it is a dynamic and inclusive market. Dubai has been formed, UAE has been formed as a melting pot to several nationalities. So of course, we are not overwhelmed with this new step that the government have taken, because we've seen so many changes in the last past 2 decades, which has happened to this country. Regulatory clarity and readiness is definitely there. And yes, I mean, it is aligning with the national goals, because UAE is for sure going ahead with the typical aim of being a digital economy and, completely being supported with its innovation. So under that circumstance, this kind of falls in place. So yeah, and that's from my side, Aeshwarya. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roy, for your valuable insight. I am pretty sure that most of our viewers must be spending on potential investment opportunity from your insights shared by you. Well, here in India, the concept of tokenization is being widely debated nowadays, and it seems to be in the early stage of discussion in India. So my next question is to Ms. Thanuja Palla, ma'am. Can you please highlight on the steps taken by the government and other authorities for the introduction of the real estate tokenization in India? Ms. Palla, over to you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. And Ms. Raka has given an extensive description of real estate tokenization. It was very well explained. So as it was mentioned, so real estate tokenization is basically converting the value, of a physical property into digital tokens. And these digital tokens are recorded on a blockchain, right? So each token represents ownership in the physical asset, and it also enables investors collectively participating in the real estate investment without actually buying the entire property. So this approach makes real estate more accessible to investors with limited capital, and also it enhances market transparency and simplifies ownership trading, right? Now, coming down to the foundational technology for this real estate tokenization has been digital ledger technology. So using this digital ledger technology, DLT, a property's value is again divided into tokens, and each representing a fractional ownership in the asset. So these tokens are again traded on regulatory platforms and giving investors real estate exposure, as I said, not really buying the entire property. Now, if you see in the global arena, real estate, with the prediction made by Boston Consulting Group recently, I believe by the year 2030, real estate tokenization is going to have a market cap of USD 16 trillion. And so India is rightly moving in the direction, unlike, the other countries like USA, UAE, and European Union. So coming down to India, India seems to be a very promising, market for real estate tokenization. And given the growing interest in real world asset tokenization by various government authorities here in India. And in this context, we have to notice these two, wonderful developments that are made by GIFT City, Gujarat International Financial Center. It's a fintech center, basically. It's a city. And it has 2 zones. You have International Financial Center, IFSC Services Center, and also a domestic tariff area. So entities that are established under IFSC, International Financial Services Center, are considered as non-residents again. under foreign exchange laws and the duties of India. And also, they're also they enable, I mean, they've given the opportunity to trade in their respective currencies, I mean, which is again making it an attractive location for enterprises seeking a favorable regulatory environment when it comes to Gift City. Now, this Gift City has come up with a regulatory framework called, the sandbox opportunity. It's a regulatory sandbox opportunity, which again helps the participating entities to, to get support in terms of technological innovations, and also to have exemptions in terms of regulations and applicable regulations to them. So taking leverage of this framework, you have the GIFT. There is one flagship project that has been launched in Gift City by Terrazzo. It's a private market investment platform in partnership with a tokenization platform. So both of them have clubbed together and they have launched this flagship project. It is India's first regulated tokenized real estate asset. So this, they have launched something called Oryx, a flagship project in Gift City, and which enables primary investors, especially, to participate with minimum investment of USD 100,000, and for secondary investors with as little as USD $1,000. So you have many such initiatives coming up in the real estate market in India. And also the state that I currently live in, Telangana, they have something called technical guidance note, which they have released, to foster this emerging sector, especially in the Telangana state. And this guidance note acts as gives a technical knowledge in terms of understanding tokenization of assets and issuance of these tokens, and also transfer of these tokens. So, I want to keep it limited. There's so much to go, but yeah, considering the time factor, I think I have covered to a large extent whatever is important.
Thank you for your valuable insights, Ms. Palla. The concept of fragmentation of property into tokens will truly revolutionize the real estate investment sector in India. As I mentioned before, the real estate sector of any country does not grow in seclusion. Its development is quite interlinked with the socio-economic condition of the country, political stability, and the challenges and developments of the other sector as well. So my next question is to Mr. Amir Zafar. Although UAE and most of the Middle East region is a hotbed when it comes to investment in real estate, can you please tell us what all are the challenges an investor may face while investing in real estate sector in UAE? Mr. Khan, over to you.
So, Aeshwarya, one of the challenges that investors have recently faced is obviously as the market has been heating up, the prices of the properties has also been correspondingly increasing. So the barrier of entry has been increasing a lot, especially over the last 10 years, which has effectively shut out a large portion of prospective investors from the market. So, as Raka was mentioned earlier, one of the reasons why the tokenization is so revolutionary in this part of the world is because I believe the government over here has identified this aspect of the investment sphere, where they want to open up the entire market to even those people who aren't able to afford properties which are worth, say, $150,000, $200,000. So I believe this actually would encourage even more people to invest in the Dubai real estate market. And the other challenge from a regulatory or from a legal point of view, Aeshwarya, is the enforcement of contracts over here. So one of the challenges of first of all, I would like to tell everyone that whenever you invest over here, in whether it's in Dubai, whether it's in Abu Dhabi, Ras Al Khaimah, wherever you are investing, make sure that you check whether the developer who is selling you the property is also registered with, say, the Dubai Land Department or not. Because obviously, if they're not registered with the land department, that means they're not a bona fide seller of property. So that is, something that is essential for somebody to check. Now, the other thing that is increasingly problematic has been the enforcement of contract in terms of the completion deadlines. Now, when somebody was buying, say, for example, an off-plan property, for example, if a developer told them, the property would be developed in, say, 5 years. But when 5 years come around, they find out that's another 2 years. Then it's another 2 years. So we have faced, we have come across several, numerous clients who have faced this issue where they have been, stuck in a limbo and they don't know how to approach this issue. So what we do is that we always recommend that before you sign the SPA or the sale purchase agreement, especially for an offline property, make sure that the timelines in the contract are ironclad. If, for example, obviously you can have variations in the timeline, but then there should also be penalties for those variations. So recently, what the local courts over here have done for the first time is that they have actually gone ahead and awarded damages to people who have been subjected to inordinate delays in completion timelines. So I think this is another thing that the government and the judiciary over here has realized, that in order to attract more investments and to attract good investment over here, they need to enforce these timelines. I think that was it was a landmark judgment. I believe it came out last year, which actually awarded damages. So I think, to my mind, one of the biggest challenges that investors over here have faced is completion timelines.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, for your insights. Now I have a similar question from our Indian counterpart. Mr. Malik, can you please tell us what all are the roadblocks that one should be mindful about while investing in real estate sector in India? Mr. Malik, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Aeshwarya.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Indian market, the challenges we generally face is with respect to, in India, the land is a state subject. So when it's a state subject, so generally we don't find uniformity, in the state laws. And it always varies upon, it's depend upon the topography or the population of the particular states. So for example, like every state, they have the, different stamp duties. This is the requirement, this is the topography, then again, the reservation and restrictions comes into play. So if you talk about Northeast, where the forests are more, so there is a law for conservation of forest. So if you go to any, with respect to where there is more tribal people, where the scheduled tribe and scheduled caste is there, then there comes in play with respect to, in order to secure their land and everything. It's that SC/ST land cannot be sold and purchased to a circle without the specific permission from the the government. I'll say in these cases we generally take permission from the at the district level from the collectors. Now, if you see the topography of India, as you explained in the beginning itself, like we have mountains, we have rainforests, we have desert, we have islands. So in that regard, India is one of the few countries where we have everything. So it's a blessing on one side, but it put us, additional requirement and compliances with respect to, taking environment clearances, taking pollution clearances. So environment clearances, whether it's, talk about in general, it's applicable across India, that for coming up with any project, you have to apply for environment clearance. So it's not necessary for the forest or for the mountains, but in plains also, that is the must. And there are stringent laws around it. And similarly, with respect to, when you want to use the groundwater, there is a stringent law. You have to apply for, license and approval in that regard. And other than this, the second biggest challenge which we face in India is with respect to the, clear title And why this issue is there for two reasons. Number one, we don't have digitized records till yet. Like most of the time when we have to check the title of a particular property, still we rely on manual records. It's only very few states which has, come up with digitized record, and that too for specific years. Still the entire revenue records or the, sub-registrar records is not available online. So this is the second biggest challenge which we generally face in India. And then the third major challenge is with respect to the complex family structures. So most of the time in India, the property belongs to joint families, and there is no demarcation per se with respect to the individuals. And when there is no demarcation, it leads up to they lands up in dispute, and it goes into long drawn litigations. So this is the key major issues. And other than that, I want to highlight with respect to uh, land ceiling. I'll say that still for few states, the outsider, if they want to invest in the state and they want to acquire land, still there are concerns with respect to there is a limit up to what extent a company can acquire a land uh, in that particular state or in particular district. Yes, subject to that. For that, in special occasion, special permission, or if one can be allotted more than the permissible limit, but yes, still there are limits around that as well. So these are the basic challenges which I'll say there are the roadblocks and the challenges when look into India with respect to being the uniformity, lack of digital records, and basis the topography, the compliances and requirement comes into play. So this is, I'll see that these are the challenges which are the real one. And other than specific, when you go to the ground, you might find some additional requirements, but yeah, mainly these are the requirements or the challenges, I'll say, which comes into play.
Thank you, Mr. Malik, for your insight. Now, after listening to both the opportunities and the shortcomings for the investment in real estate in both the jurisdiction, it is also important to be a little insightful about the legal, regulatory, and tax consideration as well. So my next question is to Mr. Khan. If you can explain it to our viewers, what all are the legal and the regulatory considerations which an investor must be aware about before investing in real estate sector in UAE? Mr. Khan, over to you.
So as far as legal and regulatory is concerned, as Mr. Malik was mentioning in his answer a little while earlier, that whereas in India every state has their own specific laws, over here we have the benefit that more or less all the laws are in uniformity. Even if say Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah, Abu Dhabi, they have different real estate laws, but more or less they're the same. So first of all, what an investor needs to ascertain is whether the developer is actually registered or not. That's the basic principle that you should go by. What that does is that, because if the developer is obviously registered, then you have the entire force of the law defending you if something goes all right. So, like I mentioned earlier, that when you sign the SPA with a legitimate developer, by law they are mandated to register it with the authority called Okud. Now, what Okud does is that even though you don't get ownership of the property per se until you completely pay off the property, but it does create a vested right for you in that property once it's registered with the Okud. So the developer cannot one day get up and try to cancel your SPA without any logical reason, or basically if they try to go bankrupt, then you have certain safeguards in the law as well. So that is something which is very important to check over here. And other than that, I mean, like I mentioned, that most of the Emirates over here have more or less similar regulatory laws. So just bottom line is, whenever somebody comes over here to purchase a property, they should ensure that the developer is registered with the Dubai Land Department, or say the Land Department of Abu Dhabi.
Thank.
Aishwarya, I would
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I would just want to add on to what Amir just mentioned, and to give you a very real level example of what we've recently handled, where so it's a thing in terms of what Amir mentioned, that once there is an SPA which is getting recorded, and this is information for the buyers. If if we do have people who are listening to us, that if you are there is something called a Form 7 which comes in, and once it's more like an MOU which the purchaser and the seller are signing even before the actual transaction and the payment and the ownership title deed is formed. Now, what happens is that this particular form is recorded and is locked. So there is a lock-in period which is there for if I'm not wrong, I think it is 60 days or
60 days. Yes.
60 days. So what happens is, in this case, the particular seller suddenly changed his mind after he has, they agreed on the price and everything, and Form 7 was signed, that no, I would want a higher price. And the buyer actually stayed put, and he said, this is absolutely illegal, and I can go ahead and file a complaint. Yes, specific performance might not happen. You might not get the property, but the buyer was eligible and is eligible to get compensation against this, which I think goes on to almost 10% of the valuation of the entire property. So, well, that did help, because beyond a point, the seller did succumb to that pressure, and he completed the sale. So, a very common thing which happens quite often. But yes, the government is quite mindful to be very balanced there, and not to let sellers kind of suddenly take a different stance and try to put this kind of a pressure to kind of get a higher price after something has been decided. So yeah, just giving a practical example.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, and thank you, Ms. Roy, for your insights. So my next question is to Mr. Faizan Daud. Mr. Daud, can you please touch upon the tax consideration which an investor must be aware about before making investment in real estate sector in UAE? Mr. Daud, over to you.
Thank you so much, Aeshwarya. So, when we talk about tax, it is first of all important to understand that there are certain things which may be believed to fall under the same head, but in fact they are not. So, for example, tax would not include any registration charges that you will have to pay at the land registration authorities, for example, 4% at DLT. It would also not include any value-added tax or a general sales tax, as you may refer to it in certain jurisdictions, that would be applicable to services provided to you by any agent or a real estate developer. What we talk about tax, or the sense in which we refer to tax here, would be the tax on any income which is generated from the real estate that you own or you have invested in. Now, for the longest time, it has been believed that UAE is a tax heaven with a lot of tax exemptions. And if you invest there, any income arising out of your investments would not be subject to any tax. That is not true anymore. It is true in certain respects, but the statement in itself, which is often made, has lost its accuracy after promulgation of our Federal Decree Law number 47 of 2022, which has introduced corporate tax, or what may be referred to in India as income tax, in the UAE. So when you talk about investing in real estate, there could be two propositions. The first is that you hold that real estate, you buy it, you sell it, and in the course of this process, you make some capital gains. So you buy something, for example, for 100,000 dirhams, and you sell it after 2 years for 500,000 dirhams. 400,000 is your capital gain. The other proposition is that you buy something and you let it, or you put it on lease and you derive rental income. Now, if you are investing in real estate in the UAE for either of these purposes, and your purpose is not residence or actually staying in that house yourself, you need to be mindful of how you structure your investment. So there are two considerations here. Whether the property is being purchased by an individual or a natural person in his personal capacity, or whether the property is being purchased through an organized corporate structure. In the first one, there are a lot of good news. The good news is that UAE presently does not tax the personal real estate investments of individuals. So if I, in my personal capacity, purchase a property and I am deriving rental income from it, then that is not subject to tax. The rental income I derive will not be taxed. Same is the case for capital gains. In my personal capacity, if I buy property, I sell it on a profit, I derive some profits, there is no tax. But the challenges may come when I start investing in real estate and deriving income out of it in the course of business. Because corporate tax applies to businesses, even if the business is undertaken by a natural person. Now, when would that happen? That would happen when I am undertaking an activity with my real estate that requires me to obtain a prior license from the economic development authorities or the business authorities. When I have to do certain things with my real estate subject to a business license, then that is likely to be categorized as income derived in the course of business and therefore subject to the 9% corporate tax unless any other general exemptions apply. So to give you an example, if I buy a property in Dubai and I let it for an annual lease or a lease of 6 months, it may not be subject to corporate tax because this is not an activity for which I need to obtain a license. It may not be considered as something I'm doing in the course of business. But if, for example, I go into the holiday rental business or Airbnb business, where I start letting out my property for less than 6 months, then that is an activity for which I will require a license from the business development authorities. And because I will require a license, it will be considered in the course of business. And because it is in the course of business, I will be subject to 9% corporate tax. So there are sufficient exemptions available under the UAE corporate tax framework for individuals, provided you structure your investments properly and after taking advice. The second proposition which I mentioned earlier was where you purchase real estate through a corporate entity, through a corporate structure, or for example where it is a company that you have set up in the UAE and the company tries to expand into other businesses, real estate not being its primary business, into real estate. And in that scenario, the general proposition is that any income derived by a company or a corporate structure from the real estate that it owns is subject to corporate tax. Any income that is in excess of 375,000 dirhams, which is roughly 100,000 US dollars, would be subject to corporate tax unless any other exemptions which are generally available apply. So for example, if it is a free zone company deriving income from a property situated within the same free zone, an exemption may apply. For example, if it is a company that qualifies for small business relief, it may be able to mitigate its tax liability. So these are some of the nuances that are at interplay here, and how you structure your investment is very important, particularly and specifically from a tax perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Daud, for your valuable insights. Now I have a similar question for our Indian counterpart. Ms. Palla, can you please highlight upon the legal, regulatory, and tax consideration for an investor for investment in real estate sector in India? Ms. Palla, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Aeshwarya.
Yeah.
So I mean, the real estate sector itself is very huge. I mean, we have seen different combinations and permutations in that. You have a transfer of immovable property and, I mean, purchase and selling of immovable properties. And you also have now recently coming up these real estate investment trust schemes. And these are actually listed entities in India. And you have four such listed, real estate investment trust schemes in India, which are Embassy Office Parks and Mindspace Business Park and Brookfield Indian Real Estate and Nexus Select Trust. So these are, I mean, these trust schemes, they have a market cap of almost like 1 lakh crores in India as of July 30, 2025. Now coming down to the emerging sector, which is again real estate tokenization. So this is again, one needs to be, before getting into the legal and the regulatory framework to understand that, but one needs to really understand the classification of this digital token in the context of Indian jurisprudence. Because in one of the judgments given by our apex court, by our Supreme Court here in India, and it was observed that a virtual digital asset could be a commodity, could be a goods, and could be even intangible asset, or it could be even considered as currency. And so depending on the context and use of it. So that way, if you see the legal framework or the legal compliances applicable to contracts in general to transfer of immovable property, they have to be thoroughly, assessed in the context of real estate tokenization. Now coming down, we have to see this legal tax and regulatory consideration in the perspective of business entities and also in the perspective of investors, both sides, because one should be aware of certain laws as an investor and also as a business entity to see how the business could prosper and how you could make good returns out of the investment that you make as an investor. So coming down, the first and foremost that you need to look into is the stamping and registration considerations. Like in India, if you have, any instrument, that creates or assigns title or interest in an immovable property of value exceeding 100 rupees, then automatically it has to be registered, mandatorily registered. So, and again, the stamping duty regulations as per various state laws. So these are some considerations one needs to look into. And also restrictions on acquisition and purchase of real estate. Like if you see the non-residents, again, there are some restrictions. They can invest in commercial and residential properties, but not in agricultural, plantation or farmhouses. There are certain restrictions under FEMA laws, Foreign Exchange Management Act. And we also need to look into the their remittances. They have to make the inward remittances either through their NRE or NRO or FCNR accounts. And repatriation also, when it comes to repatriation, there is a cap of 1 million USD and with a limitation of 2 properties in a year. So when it comes to investor, one needs to look into this. And also business entities, when they want to start a real estate project or start a real estate tokenization or start a real estate investment trust scheme, whatever it is, they should be definitely looking into the restrictions in different state laws. There are domestic laws that are also to be considered when it comes to legal and regulatory considerations in India. And also there are land-related disputes. Like if you see, unfortunately, 66% of civil disputes in India are very much related to land disputes. So one needs to look into that. And of course, digitization of land records. As per, the Union Ministry of Rural Development has come up with this, announced that 95% of rural records have been digitized. But one needs to really look into the impact of it, though it is going to, it is definitely going to clarify title ownership and mitigate a lot of disputes. But definitely digitization of rural records in India. And we also need to look into anti-money laundering, maybe because if it is a virtual digital asset, again, when it comes to tokenization, you also need to look into those aspects, because if there is a exchange of virtual digital assets or fiat currencies, then these entities, these reporting entities should be registered with Financial Intelligence Unit of India. So, and also the security laws one must consider, because a token can also be an asset token can also be considered security under Securities Contract Regulation Act, because these tokens are based on, if they are introduced or if they are issued based on a debt instrument, then yes, they can be considered as securities. So you also need to be mindful of security laws. So there are several regulatory considerations, legal and regulatory considerations one must be mindful of when it comes to Indian system and Indian market. And coming down to the tax again, the taxation, well, you also need to look into from the perspective of business entity, whether it is an SPV or PV or the investor. So if it is an investor, yes, it is purely capital gains, because there is a purchase and selling and there is a gain. Yeah, you need to pay capital gain tax in India. And of course, you also get, I mean, when it comes to SPV, I mean, if there is a transfer of development rights, then yes, indirect tax is involved, GST is involved. And when it comes to taxation in the hands of PV, I mean, PV is basically limited partners, pooling money. And so they directly invest in the real estate market, unlike through the SPV. So these partners can choose either to invest through SPV or they can directly invest in the real estate market. So they also need to, I mean, if it is taxation of PV, then it is pass-through basis. So it is again taxed in the hands of investors. If it is SPV, then it is purely in the hands of, under the radar of business and profession thing that you need to look into. And GST, yes, as I said, if it is, I mean, will apply when it is transfer of development rights, and applicability of GST on tokens will, again, we have to see. I mean, that is totally new to the market, and we have to see how it is going to progress. But tokenization transactions, I mean, in terms of services provided by these platforms, again, GST would be applicable. Yes, Aeshwarya.
Thank you, Ms. Palla, for your insight. I just have a follow-up question on this. As you know that RERA Act, GST Act, and the Insolvency Act came around the same time in the year 2016 and 17. How do you think that this holy trinity of RERA, IBC, and GST regulation have helped in the real estate development in India?
Well, I mean, the implementation of RERA and Insolvency Bankruptcy Code and GST definitely has transformed India's real estate sector into a more transparent and buyer-focused market, And coming down to RERA, it has definitely introduced strict regulations for project registrations and accountability, and also, I mean, ensuring developers, making them responsible for delays and misrepresentations in their projects, And some of its, I mean, if you see some of the regulations under RERA, it mandates that builders, to deposit at least 70% of the project income or the collected from the buyers to deposit in an escrow account, so that there is credibility of the financial transactions that happens in the project. And also, if the buyer fails to deliver the project on time, RERA interferes, and it also interferes and appoint another developer to complete the projects. So basically, RERA has gained the confidence of investors, and also it boosted the consumers' interest in the real estate sector. Now, coming down to, I mean, especially home buyer empowerment has happened under RERA, because RERA gives buyers the right to form an association, and also it has given access to dedicated authorities when it comes to real estate projects, because till then, until RERA, people had to go to courts and civil courts, and the cases used to continue for never-ending thing. But then coming down when as RERA has come into the picture, so there are dedicated authorities now. There are tribunals now which can address the concerns of investors. And coming down to IBC, Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, and this is a wonderful thing that happened. Investors are considered as financial creditors under IBC. So again, it's a wonderful move by the Act, because by the code. So, and again, allowing a timeline of 180 days, maximum of extension of 90 days. So, I mean, ensuring faster decisions regarding the future of the financially troubled projects or developers. Now, coming down to IBC, it basically emphasizes reviving the viable projects and viable companies instead of liquidating those assets. So when that happens, it is particularly important in real estate and infrastructure when projects are long term and when they are capital intensive, right? And coming down to GST again and the goods and service tax, it's a streamlined tax system offering input tax credit to reduce costs and also ensuring transparent pricing. So together, these reforms today have improved market efficiency, and it minimized malpractices in the real estate sector, and it also increased investor confidence while protecting consumer interests.
Thank you, Ms. Palla, for your insight. That is quite valuable. Uh, Now, coming to our last question, it is for everyone on the panel. Since UAE is known worldwide for its eye-popping real estate projects being developed, and India, which is still yet to make the best utilization of its real estate sector. So my question is for everyone: how do you see the future of real estate sector in your respective jurisdiction, and how do you think that it can contribute to the growth and development of our nations? Miss Roy, we can start with you, then others can follow the same.
Sure. I mean, I would just only give a heads up. I was just looking through some expected stats and numbers, and currently in 2024, the real estate market kind of looks at around 82 billion USD, which there is a projection that by 2030 it would reach around $132 billion. So that itself speaks quite a volume about the kind of real estate expectation that the market is having from a real estate industry. I would say, having spent 2 decades in the country, the one thing that has evolved out of this country's thought process is that it is a very it's got a very good blend of live, work, play kind of a community, where real estate is quite evenly, kind of distributed because of this lifestyle which this country believes in, that there is equal level of residential, commercial, as well as leisurely, real estate construction projects which come up together. And it is increasing over the years. So as I mentioned, tokenization and digitization is definitely something which the country is looking at as a future aspect. And I'm sure I'm looking at my colleagues, Amir and Faizan, to, they would have more things to add on to this. Thank you.
I'll just quickly add a couple of points. I think, people have said every 10 years that maybe now Dubai has hit its ceiling, but every time the Dubai real estate market surprises everyone and it takes the next step. And I think that's down to a lot of that is down to the fact that the government keeps on coming up with new laws, new innovation. Like, for example, recently there's this item in the news that they're building a green spine which is going to run parallel to Sheikh Zayed Road, which would be, an open green space where I think it's about 46 kilometers long or something, where people can walk and, cycle and everything. So I think it's these sort of ideas which has kept Dubai ahead of the curve when it comes to real estate development in the country. That coupled with the fact that the laws over here are quite robust and they are very cognizant of the fact that investors over here require a certain degree of certainty and protection from the law. And I think the laws over here are quite easily implementable. And I think that's one of the reasons why Dubai is where it is in terms of the real estate market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Malik,
Yeah. Thank you. If we talk about India, as I mentioned initially also, the Indian market, real estate market is touching 1 trillion USD by 2030, and it's a potential to reach by 5 to 7 trillion in next 20 years. And if we are targeting for as the government is targeting to have a developed nation in by 2047, so definitely it has potential to touch that. Subject to that, we take a leverage and we optimally utilize the real estate, and not only the real estate. I think there are other allied industries, like more than 200 allied industries, which get benefit out of it. It leads to, their cement is there, your paint industry is there, your logistic industry is there. So looking into everything, I think it generate employment to everybody, and it's definitely, if move in the right direction with streamlining our regulatory framework and boosting the FDI with having a through consistent policy framework and good returns, and the investment in the last 5 years have been increased as compared to last time. So we are looking forward that we can definitely will be a developed nation, and we'll definitely hit the 7 trillion this thing by in 2047 for sure. Yeah, thank you, Aeshwarya.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Malik. So with this, we come to the end of our session. Thank you for our esteemed panelists for sharing their insight, and to our audience for their patience and engagement. We hope this session will provide you a valuable takeaway for your futuristic ventures. Thank you and have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Aeshwarya.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.